The announcement of another code Recollection came as a very big but very welcome surprise. I remember being up really early to watch the Nintendo Direct it was announced in, and this was an announcement I never saw coming, considering this is one of Nintendo's more niche IPs, next to Hotel Dusk. Another Code and Hotel Dusk were both developed by the same studio, and the games were published by Nintendo. And Another Code and Hotel Dusk have one thing in common in the States, and that's they both got their first game released over here, but not the second, even though the second game was translated entirely into English. And after the company went bankrupt, Nintendo ended up with the rights to the series, so Nintendo totally could have released those, but they didn't, which is unfortunate, especially since, like, the localization work was already done. And, I was a pretty big fan of Hotel Dusk, and Another Code was already something I was planning on picking up at some point. So seeing this announced, this got me to actually try out the series. I am hoping Kyle Hyde will come back in some form, because, like I said, I really enjoyed Hotel Dusk and its sequel Last Window, and I figured supporting this would help. Because, if I buy re-release of one of Nintendo's more obscure IPs, it shows that, I'm interested in seeing more of that stuff from them. And plus, this was something I was already interested in checking out, so it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. However, I don't think that many people really picked it up. But I'm glad I did, because I did have pretty good time with it. Another Code Recollection is a compilation of the two Another Code games, the first one on the DS and the second one on the Wii, and this is the first one, the Wii one, was ever released in the States, which was pretty cool. I think the weirdest part about it is, you play both games back to back, there's no, game selection, which is fine for a first playthrough. I just think it's odd how you don't have the option after beating the whole thing. So I do think it's a pretty fun game. It's a storytelling game, so it's not going to be something that everybody is really into. But if you're into mystery games like Ace Attorney, Danganronpa, you might be into that. And if you've played any of Kyle Hyde's adventures before, then you'll definitely get some enjoyment out of this. So basically, you play as this girl Ashley who's going to an island where her father's been hiding for years. For the longest time, she thought that he was dead. And so going to this island, she's learning more about her parents, and the same can be said about the second game, because the second game, it's a completely different setting when she's older, and she's learning more about her family in the second game as well. So you just go through, do some exploration, run into puzzles every now and then. And in the Switch version, some of the puzzles, the hardest part's really just the controls, because some of them control really weird. And the DS puzzles, from what I heard, are actually a bit more challenging. They're a lot easier in the Switch version, but they definitely do get a bit more challenging the further you get. But they're nothing crazy difficult for the most part. Looking at the older games, they do look kind of weird, because the DS one has this top-down view, and the Wii one, you had a very limited form of movement, but you got full 3D movement now, which I think is much better for this type of game. It was fun going around and exploring, and they have this little collectible that you can go and get now. There are these little origami cranes with QR codes that you can scan. They're fun to look for, but by the second game, they're actually a bit harder to find, honestly, because, I didn't even realize that they were there at first, and there are some that you can actually completely miss and not be able to go back and get. It was a nice extra feature that added a bit more lore to the series, and the games are definitely a bit more connected to each other in this compilation than the original games were, from what I hear. And they're both pretty interesting adventures. I enjoyed the story in both. I do think the first one had a better overall story, and the second one, the story wasn't bad, but I feel it got better near the end, and the second one definitely had a much better end game than the first game did. The characters, I wasn't really that attached to for the most part, but like I was interested in Ashley's story, learning more about her and her past, what happened with her parents and everything, what they were working on. There are a handful of quality of life improvements that definitely make the experience much better. Like if you get stuck, you can like hit the left stick to show like some icons letting you know where to go, and like you can turn on puzzle hints too in case like you get stuck on a puzzle, you're not like thinking straight, like you're not in the mood to think, or the puzzle actually does get challenging, because like they do get a bit more difficult depending on where you are in the game. But for the most part, the puzzles aren't really that difficult, like I said earlier. And honestly, I did like this. I would love to see more games like this, more remakes. I would love to see Hotel Dusk and Last Window get the same treatment. I would love to see Kyle Hyde get another game. I'd actually be interested in seeing Ashley get another game too. Like for the most part, like I do think the story with her parents was wrapped up pretty well, but like there are all kinds of things you can do with characters. Like they could probably work something out, have a game more about her than her family or something like that. But yeah, this is definitely one of the best Switch exclusives in my opinion, and definitely a pretty solid remake made by Arc System Works of all studios. I was definitely surprised to see their name in the credits, and and there was also some Kyle Hyde references, which gives me some hope. So I really do hope we can get more of Another Code and Kyle Hyde in the future, because like these are series that I don't know, I just kind of want more of these kinds of games.